should you quit your job in order to start a remote business? Now, if I could go back to my old self and answer this question, this video is probably what I would tell myself. So if you have this conflict and you don't know whether you should quit the job or you should keep the job while starting the business, then this video is for you. After graduating from university in China, I decided to take a job at an e-commerce company. Now, I always had this mixed feelings about the conventional system. You know what I'm talking about. Studying, graduating, getting married, getting a job, whatever, right? Having kids, having a family, die. But I always knew that I didn't want to have a job. The problem was I didn't know what I wanted either. Just as a kid, you don't want to eat this thing, but you also don't know what you want to have. And so in the same way, I was a little bit conflicted about it. And by the time I graduated, the only reasonable or logical thing that was left for me to do was to get a job. And so I did. And it was just after a couple of weeks that I was really conflicted about the fact that the job wasn't feeling like a fulfilling part of my life. Now, the content side was nice, but I didn't really enjoy the dynamic of it and the aspects of a traditional job. And so for me, the easiest thing to do at the time was just to quit. Now the problem was, and there was two things to be honest. On one side, I had some savings, so I knew that I could kind of give myself a little bit of time. But on the other side, the fact that I had the savings also had a negative impact in my life, because I was feeling like maybe I have some time to think about what I want to do, which then turned into a habit of not knowing what to do as quick as possible, not trying to overthink things. And I fell for this trap, which you probably all have, and that is overwhelming consumption. You just get intoxicated in content because you just become an info junkie. You're trying to learn, you're trying to gather all these things, and I had no clue about all the things that are needed to be able to start a business, right? Let alone create content, market, make sales, manage people, hire people, do the financing, the legals. Like, there's so many aspects and so many parts, right? Moving parts around a business. And normally we think starting a business is the easy way out so that we don't have to deal with a job that we don't like. But the truth is, you need to learn, first of all, wear a lot of hats, and you also need to learn a lot of skills, right? You need to learn a lot of things. And that takes time. Now I'm looking back at it and thinking, should I have quit my job just like I did? Or maybe I should have just hold on to it a little bit longer while I was getting money paid month to month, and I could try to save money, one, but I would also save myself some time, or even buy myself some time to be able to decide what I was going to do, one. Two, to learn the necessary things that I needed to be able to execute this thing. Three, to find the right people. Four, to explore and make mistakes and also learn from that. And eventually, five, actually make money, right? It is definitely way easier said than done. And so what was initially my safety net very quickly turned out to be my surviving rod. I definitely did not understand, and I underestimated definitely the fact that starting a business is way harder than when it looks. It seems to me pretty ironic that there's this saying, you jump off. Entrepreneurship is about jumping off the cliff and then building your parachute as you go. Well, let me tell you this. If that was the case, I've probably died like 17 times already. And that's because you still try to figure things out, business after business. Like I had a job, I quit my job, I tried to start a business. I made a little bit of money, I eventually quit this thing, I failed, and then I jumped back to start to getting a job. And then this thing kind of annoyed me, and then again I was like, I'm gonna quit, and then I'm gonna jump back into this thing and trying to create a new business. But it has always been about jumping between one or the other one, like these two vehicles, let's say. And I never really thought about the fact that it was possible, and it was also doable, although maybe not as easy for a lot of people because you don't have time, but it was possible to actually have a job and then on the side to be able to do this thing, right? To start building the pillars or whatever it is, the foundation for your business, to learn what you need to learn, to start just being in proximity with the people that you need to be in proximity with, to be able to just even to begin with, to start shifting your mindset and start thinking as a business owner, not as a auto-employed, self-employed, because that's what you turn into. And it's way harder than just doing the task, finishing 9 to 5, and then you go back home, you get paid. That's it. And that's why I think jumping off the cliff without the parachute may be okay, but you gotta die a few times if you're willing to become a great skydiver, right? To be able to build your parachute as you go. Is it doable? Yeah, for sure. Is it easy? I wouldn't say so. And so I know that there's a lot of content out there always saying, oh, you should just do it, go all in, right? Yes, I definitely agree in one part of it, like one side of it, which is, yes, you should go all in and you should try it out and not quit on the third day just because it doesn't work out. But you should also not just kind of see it from that perspective where, oh, I'm going to burn all my bridges and then just try to make it happen. And then if it doesn't happen, I fail and then I go back to getting a job. Because yes, it's doable, but then you're wasting time, you're wasting energy. And it also affects really deeply. Emotionally speaking, it affects you because you feel dumb. And I have personally felt really, really dumb every time I fail at something. Like when I have to shut some project down or I have to stop doing something in relation to a business. It sucks. That's just the reality of it. But I think understanding the basics of leveraging what you have right now to be able to secure yourself a path is also doable. And so just as I said, is it okay to quit your job and start a business? Sure. If you can manage, it's totally doable. And then on the other side, like, is it bad to have a job? I don't think so. I personally don't feel like I'm aligned to the traditional job, but I wouldn't say it's a negative thing to do or to think about. And just shifting this idea, this mindset, I think allowed me to do things very differently. Now, instead of just trying to have passive income from day one, or like high ticket income from day one, or recurring income from day one, I understood that it all begins with income, right? Like cash flow begins with cash. You cannot have cash flow if you don't have cash to begin with. And you do not have cash if you don't make sales. And you cannot have sales if you don't market something. And you cannot market something if you don't have something that you can sell or offer to the people. And you cannot have something to sell or offer to somebody if you don't even know who you can help. And so it really is all about reverse engineering all these questions and these ideas so that hopefully by the time you actually take this decision, you can go all in and you have the right momentum and the right tools and answers to all these questions that come up in your mind when you're trying to start a business. So just imagine I'm having this conversation with my old self. I would probably keep it real simple and I would say, dude, sure, you want to start a business, that's cool. Have the job, leverage the job, pay the bills, survive, have somewhere to sleep, something to eat, and start learning about business, start modeling other people, start seeing what they're doing, start trying things out in your spare time, maybe from 9 to 11 every single day. It's going to be hard, but if you're willing to make it happen, then that's how you can start building this other boat before you jump off or before you even think about parachuting without a parachute. Because here's the thing. When you are surviving and you're trying to get a little bit of money for the next meal, the way you think and the way you approach things is really different. I could tell you this from personal experience. I do not make the same decisions when I have $10 in my bank account than when I have $10,000 in my bank account. My way of operating is really different. My way of thinking is really different. Even $10,000. Some of you would say, wow, that's a lot of money. Some of you would say, that's not a lot of money, right? But it's all about the difference in how it helps you approach the problem. I'm going to leave you with this thing for me, which is, I think it's been one of the greatest game changers in my own mindset. And it's, we're always trying to approach starting a business and figuring out these answers by asking the what, right? So we try to ask ourselves, what do we need to do? What do we have to do? What can we do? What is the best business to start with? I want to shift your mindset for a little bit and challenge you to start thinking differently. And so the first level is going to be stop thinking about the what, but then start thinking about the how. Okay, now how can I make this better? How can I turn this thing into this, right? Like I don't have the money. That's normally the answer, right? Like what can I do to get money? Or like what can I buy that's cheaper because I don't have the money? Instead, you could think, how can I get the money? How can I make somebody else pay for it? How can I use other people's resources, time, energy, skills to be able to do what it is that I want to do, to accomplish the thing that I want to do? Okay, and there's a subtle answer to this question, which takes me to the third one, which is probably the best question that you can ask yourself. And that is not about what should I do? How do I have to do this thing? But actually, who can help me do this? Who has done this before? Who can help me out with it, right? Who can actually do this for me, help me get there faster? How can I leverage these people's time, energy, resources, everything? And that way you can buy yourself some time, buy yourself a little bit of sanity, and start thinking at a higher level instead of just trying to get the next meal. So with that said, if you are still in your job and you're thinking about quitting, then this is what you have to do. Am I able, you have to ask yourself this question, am I able to quit my job and then make it happen within the next 30 days, 45 days, 90 days? If the answer is yes, then what does that imply? If the answer is no, if for some reason you fail, what does that imply? What is the risk? What are you losing if you don't make it happen? Are you going to go back to a job? Can you even go back to your job? Do you have to find a new job? Think about the risks that imply doing this and compare that to starting your business, learning, watching more videos on YouTube, right? Listening to podcasts, hiring a coach or mentor, whatever it is that you need in your life to be able to start a business that allows you to work from anywhere and that allows you to have this location independence so that you can see the world out there, you can learn from the world, and you can become a global citizen. Hope this is valuable to you, and I'll see you in the next video.